You just flushed the toilet.
Probably doesn't work for sure. Let me try this one. Number two. Oh, hey, we got fans. Hey, we got two fans. That's something. Yeah, this one is totally fans. Hopefully that.
Yes. Okay. We're recording? Okay. We will call this meeting of the Palmer City Council to order on February 25th, 2025 at 6 p.m. with a couple fans working. Madam Clerk, if you could call the roll, please.
Councilmember Alcantara.
Here.
Councilmember Hudson.
Here.
Mayor Carrington.
Here.
Councilmember Graver.
Here.
Councilmember Best. Councilmember Cooper.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Tudor.
Here.
Okay. Councilmember Best is not going to be attend tonight. He still has a personal thing he's taking care of. I forgot to mention, just remind everybody in the audience and the council to please put away your phones so we can focus on the meeting. And if we could have everyone stand, and Jackie, go for it. Could you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Next is the approval of the agenda, which includes the consent agenda. All items appearing on consent agenda are approved with a single motion, no discussion, and one vote. A council member may request to remove an item for discussion and separate the vote. Action memorandum number 25-021, directing the city manager to notify the state of Alaska of the city council's statement of non-objection of the restaurant Eating Place license 3696 of La Fiesta, and then the approval of the minutes from January 28th and February 11th of this year. What's the wishes of the council?
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion? Councilmember Alcantara.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I feel like I have to do it in the absence of our fellow council member. I just want to make sure to ask the city clerk, we've received no letters, phone calls, or any other correspondence regarding the action memorandum 25021 for Lafayette.
Madam
That's
Clerk.
correct. That's correct.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. And also, in that part of the packet, there is a sign off by the clerk saying that, you know, it was approved. So, all right. If we're set, then Madam Clerk, if you could call the roll, please.
Deputy Mayor Tudor.
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper.
Yes.
Councilmember Graver.
Yes.
Mayor Carrington.
Yes.
Councilmember Hudson.
Yes.
Councilmember Alcantara.
Yes.
Unanimous.
Okay. Next, doesn't appear we have any communications appearances. City managers report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't have a written report for this evening and do have a short verbal report. A lot of tonight's agenda is going to be about Public Works, if not all of it. So I'd like to highlight something Public Works has done lately. So we have a flat deck. We have a large flat deck trailer that is in desperate need is in desperate need of the decking to be replaced. So think of it as like a mid-size, small-size excavator, something fitting on like a gooseneck trailer with a wood deck. The wood specialty sized, ordering the replacement decking is limited just to a couple of local small mills. The cheapest estimate for the decking alone came in at just over $3,900 for this trailer. Throw in the fasteners and labor, and the cost of this decking is just over $5,000. So right now at the water sewer, down at the water treatment plant, they're having to remove, Public Works is having to remove cottonwood trees for part of the upgrade underneath our consent decree with the EPA. So we have numerous cottonwood trees that are basically laying on the ground. So what they did, a member of the Public Works brought in their own personal portable sawmill and made boards out of some of these trees, and they replaced the decking on this trailer themselves, costing saving the city just over $5,000. So this is the first one of 3, I believe, that we plan on replacing. So that's, I just want to bring that up for to give kudos to Public Works. Also, we're talking about water and wastewater tonight. I would invite each member of council to go view the water treatment plant. I know I'm assuming that you've all been there at least at some point in your tenure, but it would be really good to go down there with Matt, get a tour, go see what we're planning on upgrading and replacing in the coming years. One particular note, Headworks is going to be mentioned tonight. Jude's going to be talking about it. It's not what you would call the most glamorous piece of the water treatment plant, but it is one of the more important pieces. Matt will also take you through and talk to you about what the water and wastewater employees have done on their own, coming up with their own ideas with what they've learned out at that water treatment plant and the improvements that they've made without having to go to outside organizations and purchase additional materials. So it's, again, I encourage you to go out there and take that tour. And that concludes manager's report for this evening.
All right. Does council have any questions of the manager? Council member Alcantara.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Really, this may be a question in the mayor's report. I just didn't see it in a written report, so I'm gonna throw it out there and see if either the city manager, the mayor, or city attorney, if she's online, could answer the question, possibly. Do we have any update for our preferred candidate to share with the council members and the public? I know a lot of folks weren't here the last 2 Fridays when we had special meetings, and I thought today was possibly the day we're gonna get an update. And I don't wanna put you on the spot, John, but I didn't know if I should ask it here or ask the mayor. So I don't know if you have anything you can share. Goes.
I don't have any other information than what was provided on Friday.
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I'm pleased to say that S3 has been given the marching orders for the offer letter. So we're just at this point, waiting for response.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, council member
offer letters
Alcantara.
went out to the preferred candidate.
We finally got that sent over to S3 to be sent out.
Okay.
So I don't know if it's been sent out quite yet, but we'll find out.
Okay, thank you, Dennis.
Mr. Manager.
Mr. Mayor, I misspoke earlier. I do have one update from in the manager's report from Public Works, if that's okay.
Oh, yes, go ahead.
Is it on?
Yes.
Perfect.
Mayor, council members, Jude Billiford, your Public Works Director. So the mayor reached out to me last week with a concern about a council member had raised an issue with our water. I don't know who that council member was. It was not shared with me. But to be honest, it's irrelevant. It doesn't really matter who it was. It's kind of maybe my failure of not educating folks on our water report. So now is the time that I can give some update. Again, the mayor reached out to me about comments made by a council member to elected official in Juneau. And the council, or correction, the comments that were shared with me, and I'm paraphrasing, were that Palmer has an elevated level of contaminants in our water. That is 100% false. Those kind of, for lack of a better word, uneducated comments are very hurtful to the city. But they do more than that. They incite fear, they incite distrust, and they incite panic because people expect their drinking water to be clean. And it is, and I guarantee you. So for anyone who is interested in the City of Palmer's reports on their drinking water, all you have to do is go to the Facebook page or the public page on the city's page. It is the first item underneath the Public Works Department. And it has every year for the last 15 years our water quality reports. So why I'm handing you this, I'd just like to showcase one item of concern. And just for discussion purposes here, if you wouldn't mind, in the left-hand side, let's go down to radium, okay? So if you see radium, the next two columns, you see a 0 and a 5. The 5 is the level, and these are established by the EPA, not the City of Palmer, okay? So you see, there's the window when we test these contaminants, 0 to 5. If you look at Palmer's water, it is 0.3. Somehow it was conveyed that that's an elevated level. Let's go to the next two columns. You see sample range, low and high. Those are the samples that were taken by the City of Palmer. Our low level was 0.1, our high level was 0.3, okay? Well underneath the level of 5 established by the EPA. You see also over there, the last time we tested was 2017. That's because according to the EPA, we only have to test every 9 years when you are below their established level. So, I would ask folks, please, you all have my number. Don't hesitate to call me. I have already been called on this issue. So I would welcome, please, folks, talk to me about the water, about garbage, about sewer, about anything that Public Works has its fingers in, and I will do my gosh darndest to get you the most relevant, up-to-date information possible. That sound reasonable?
All right, thank you.
Again, I apologize for the shotgun blast.
Councilmember-
I do not know.
Okay, Councilmember Alcantra.
Yeah. Hey, thank you, Mr. Wilford. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I can't speak for everybody, I only speak for myself, but none of these topics were addressed in any meetings with lawmakers that I have. The only thing I could think of and would cast, ill will towards our neighbors 11 miles away. Other city council members from a different city who are meeting with legislators from our city may be saying something about Palmer's water or anything else. The only thing I can bring back to you, Jude, is that one lawmaker said there's a potential that we have some sort of leaking fuel somewhere close to a water area, but there's nothing, no one ever addressed this study or anything to do with Palmer's water. I mean, I think Palmer has, fantastic water, and this report proves it out. So I don't know, but I can tell you that in meetings I have with lawmakers, these subjects, $10.4 million came up about, capital budget request, but nothing like this ever came up in any meetings that I was part of or privy to. So just so you know.
That's fantastic. I said, I was not there. Obviously, I am.
Okay,
providing
Councilmember,
information that I was given.
Councilmember Hudson.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And this is why me and some of my fellow council members went into every meeting in Juneau together, because we knew this was going to come up. What was actually brought forward as the main concern with our well water was that there was an oil leak at the airport that was supposed to be being monitored. And when it was referred to the mayor, he said that he had no idea what they were talking about. So that was a big concern with things that were going on in our water. And that there is something going on with the EPA with our water and sewer facility. So those are the things that were brought forward. Thank you.
I am,
All right,
Mr. Mayor, I am not aware of, other than the consent decree, Councilmember Hudson, is that what you mentioned? Because otherwise, I am not aware of the EPA or anybody else questioning or being involved with our facilities. Other than the consent decree, which we are under, but that's been since 2017.
Okay. All right. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Jude, thank you for being here. I just had a quick question. How often are these samples taken? I know, is it every 5 years? I'm just curious.
It depends. Some of them, if you look at the top ones, we do every 2 years.
Okay.
So, correction, the top four are done every year. So this report for 2024 will come out May, June timeframe.
And if memory serves, those are mailed out to everyone on the water network. Is that the reports?
They
that
are, and
okay.
there's other parts and pieces to that as well.
Okay.
We do internal testing as well. And again, as soon as that comes out, the coordination is done with DEC, and then all of this information is immediately put into their chart. This is a chart given to us for reporting purposes, and then it is mailed to all customers and also put on our website.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Thank you.
And forgive me if I'm harsh. I take very seriously the responsibility to maintain clean, safe, reliable drinking water. And I won't say clean, but reliable, safe sewage disposal. So I'm a little sensitive in that area because I do know, as Mr. Alcantara just mentioned, there are, and have been, I'm not saying there are right now, but there have been some challenges with water in other areas. Thankfully, not the city of Palmer.
Okay, thank you. Next is Mayor's report. I've got a written report and spent a bit of it just kind of reminding people about our boards and commissions, and between the advertising and possibly this, I've heard rumors that we've got five applications for the Airport Advisory Committee, so I'll be looking through those and doing some interviews, so we've gotten some response. So then, is there any questions from council for me on my mayor's report? Okay. City clerk's report.
I don't have a formal report, but I'm happy to answer questions from the council.
Okay. Councilmember Hudson.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just would like to know an update from our clerk about the recall that's currently in process.
It's still
Madam
being
Clerk.
worked on at this moment. I'm waiting for a response from the petitioners myself. That's what I'm waiting for.
Councilmember Hudson.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. My next question for the clerk was, I was just wondering the process for the verification of signatures that the clerk's office goes through.
That's spelled out in the Alaska statutes. I don't have the number with me. It's in Title 29.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. Madam Attorney, City Attorney's report. Sarah,
Yes,
you're
good
online.
evening. I don't have a report this evening, but I'm certainly available for questions. I do want to just tack on to, I'm sorry, what?
Oh, no, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I do want to tack on to what Mr. Billiford was just sharing. And from a legal component, the only thing that we have is that 2017 consent decree with the EPA regarding public works. I also know of nothing else in terms of any concerns regarding the water that's been brought forth at all. And I've worked quite a bit with Mr. Billiford on the consent decree, and he's doing a really good job negotiating with the EPA on helping the city of Palmer get out from underneath that.
Okay. Are there any questions for our attorney from the council? Okay. Next is audience participation. Council member rules protect your right to testify and ensure that those attending can express their views if they do not interfere with the rights of others to see and hear the proceedings. At all times, order and decorum will be maintained in keeping with the civility and dignity of the legislative process. No disruptions to city business or threats of any kind will be allowed. Individuals who cannot follow these guidelines will be removed. Any threats against others could result in criminal prosecution. And please sign in Start with your name and 3 minutes for each person. Audience participation is open. Welcome, sir.
Good evening, Council. For the record, I'm David Wilson. I'm the Director of Public Policy at the Matsu Health Foundation, representing the other side of the valley where I reside in. And I can assure you that we don't talk about the wonderful integrations of
You want me hitting the
It's my
power
email.
button in the back, would you? Just kind of hold it for a little bit, David, sorry.
You see that the display's gone?
There it goes. I think it's on now. Yes, no? All right. Maybe?
Maybe.
There we go.
Okay, I think it's working.
Okay.
Sorry about that. I'm just here and I handed the clerk a little bit of information about the Matsu Health Foundation's scholarship and vocational funding programs. The academic scholarship period closes on March 15th. The Matsu Health Foundation last year gave about $3 million in academic and vocational scholarships to our Matsu students and young adults and adults looking to better themselves in the fields of health services and social services careers. There's always been an ongoing shortage of healthcare professionals in the state. We need about almost 10,000 healthcare professionals annually needed to support the growth and replacement of our healthcare workers, and that was in 2024, as stated by the Alaska Healthcare Workforce Analysis by the AHA, the Alaska Hospital and Healthcare Association. And we recognize this high essential need, and this is why the Matsu Health Foundation is continuing to look to grow this need. And this year we plan to fund about $4 million in scholarships. So if you know of anyone that's in the youth that are looking to have a career in healthcare or social services, please have them reach out to us at healthymatsu.org, or there's more information, a QR code on the flyer that was passed out to the clerk. And I'll be here afterwards to answer any other questions and see if there's anything else that we can help and assist with. Thank you guys this evening for this time, and thank you, Mayor and Council.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else for audience participation?
Hello. Let me fill this out real quick. My name is Ashley Hutton, and I live just outside the Palmer city limits, but I do pay taxes as a Palmer business owner. And I'd like to know what's going on with the library. I have heard a lot of rumors and a lot of things, but I am unsure what's actually occurring, and I would love to see our community have a library because I think it is the heart of a community. It is an incredibly important thing to have. So I'm not sure if you're able to address that now, but it's something that in whatever capacity you have, I think would be important for the community to know and to know how, let you know how important it is since you guys hold a lot of the power. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Jackie Goforth. And I'm certainly glad the library got brought up because the library is actually a bastion of a city. That's the heart of the city, she's right. But do you realize that the design for the new library has approximately the exact same square footage as the library we have already, devoted to library services? Everything else was civic space and meeting room space. Everything else is being added on. And if you want to have something and support something that's worth millions of dollars and costs millions of dollars, you have to have the tax base to support it. So I don't understand why we canceled the Walmart ask when it was going in across from where the Pathways was. Oh, why don't we put a Walmart there? And you might want to invite them back in and put Target across the street because you're going to have the tax base to support a huge edifice if you want to have a huge edifice. All we had to do was add on to the library that's there and things would have been just perfect. I don't know that much about city government and water and all that, but I do know a lot about management. I was a manager for 22 years, a very highly decorated one. They used to send me people to actually train to manage. And I don't know who you're vetting or who you're having vet. I know they're in Texas, but good night. I was out on the street and I found out stuff that I don't want to know. And the one thing that a manager has to be is uncompromisable. Do you know what that means? They can't have a secret in their past that is going to be used against them or can be used against them to coerce. And so if someone is having an affair or their spouse is having an affair with someone else, that's not my business, really. I don't want to know. But if the other person happens to be a minor, then all of a sudden that is a coercible situation later. And if there's somebody in the package that has this in their past, they can be bribed or coerced, especially if someone on this panel right now has a relationship with them of any kind. Do you understand? Once you become a manager, you have to. I used to train them. If there's a stop sign anywhere, I stop for it. My husband still gets upset at me. Supervisors used to get upset at me, and I would say, I'm sorry, but if you're going to hold letter carriers responsible for following the laws, you have to follow the laws without exception. You have to do it. I'm sorry, that's the new rule. You can't have something in your past that's compromisable to you. If you do, you can't seek public office, because someone will find out. I found out, and I wasn't even asking. Do you understand? You have somebody in your package that probably should not be considered for manager, because they have something in their past that they're hiding. You may want to find out who it is and what it is, because it's very easy. I found it. People tell me everything. I can tell you who's doing drugs and exactly what business supposedly they're selling it through. Now, what I hear is hearsay, but if they're going to tell it to me, a stranger, why on earth can't the vetting person find this out and investigate? Thank you.
Thanks. Is there anyone else for audience participation? Going once? Twice? All right, we will close this audience participation. Next, we have public hearings. First public hearing is for resolution number 25-007. A resolution of the Palmer City Council authorizing the city manager to apply to the State of Alaska Department of Environmental Conservation for a loan for Alaska Drinking Water Fund in the amount not to exceed $500,000 for the project titled New Well and Well House Project. So we will open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak to this resolution can come forward. Okay. Seeing no one, will close the public hearing. What's the wishes of the council?
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Does the council have any questions or comments? Councilmember Alcantara.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do have questions on this one, and of course, the next two resolutions, just taking one at a time since they're for different projects. But one of the things in the resolution that I can't quite wrap my arms around is that whereas the loan of up to $500,000 is fully subsidized and would not require repayment. So are these grants or are these loans? Because when I see that whereas in the clause, I think of grants more than I think of loans, and that obviously I'd rather see grants than loans. So if either city manager or public works director could address it.
Mr. Manager.
Like to ask Mr. Billiford to come up and help out.
All right.
He's got, I could give you the short answer, but he's got the background information for you.
Okay, welcome, Mr. Billiford.
Mr. Mayor, council members, great question. This is a unique situation. So it is technically a loan, but the loan is 100% reimbursable. There is a 0.5% admin fee. And so the interesting part about this is, so the city has been pursuing SRF grants, loans for its water system for years, and we are finally on a prioritization list. The SRF coordinator at DEC reached out to us and said, we have this program right now where we have complete reimbursement minus the 0.5% administrative fee. Are you interested? And of course we said, absolutely. And so this is applicable to all three. So what you see there, the first one specifically in question, the total fees for all three of these, I'll just sum them all together, is $8,750. That's what will come out of our water and sewer fund to pay for these. And as I said, they are administrative fees for the processing of these three, technically, loans. And Gina, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's loans, correct? And we have spent numerous phone calls and emails to make sure, because I did not believe it when it first was presented to us. I didn't, because I've not ever seen anything like that. So this is a unique opportunity. Again, they are fully subsidized. We do have the administrative fee, and it's applicable to all three of those.
Okay, Councilmember Tudor, or Deputy Mayor Tudor, sorry.
No worries. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Joe, for speaking to us again. And I think Councilman Alcantara kind of summed it up. I think we're just kind of worried it's a really good deal, and we just want to make sure it's not too good to be true. But there's no like strings attached or any kind of gotchas in there.
There are not. And these are for design purposes. So, and any monies that are left over could be reallocated as part of if we went to construction. But again, these are for design, and both Gina and I independently talked to different people to verify, because I admit I was a bit skeptical when I got the phone call. But it is verified through several different sources.
Thanks. Councilmember Graver.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That was my biggest question, so thank you, Councilman Alcantara, for asking that. So is that why under fiscal impact, it doesn't need to be budgeted since we're not
Correct.
taking that money out. So where's the $8,750 located?
Water sewer fund, specifically their capital fund.
Okay, great, thank you. I thought I had one more question, and I think that's it for now. Thank you.
And my apologies for wording that. You're right. We say loan and then we say fully subsidized.
But, okay. Councilmember Cooper.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks, Jude. So that begets a question. As I look at their page, it says the SRF program offers subsidy up to 50% of the total project costs, up to a cumulative maximum, as long as you brought up all the rest of the projects, up to a cumulative maximum of $500,000 per utility per year. So when I look at that, you're asking for $500,000 for this one, $1 million for the next one, $1 million for the next one. You say they're all fully subsidized. Are they each individually up to $500,000? And it says per year.
Each one of these that you see tonight in those three resolutions, each one is fully subsidized.
All right. So their page talks about $500,000. Where do we get the $1 million subsidy then? The other $500,000.
It was blessed by DEC.
All right. So do we have that other than verbal? Do we have?
I have it in writing.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Alcantara.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And Mr. Belfer, Councilmember Cooper hit on a couple of things, but I did, I don't look a gift horse in the mouth, but, you just want to make sure that kind of crossing the T's and dotting the I's here as well. And I do like the fact that it says in here that in addition, loans can serve as local match for most other federal or state funding sources. So if you get this money approved, it can also be used for that reason as well. 8750 is actually just a shade under the 0.5 that you recommended if we approve all three of these loans. So I sit here going like, man, where's the boogeyman in this thing, and where's the piece that's going to get me? And I don't see it, and I trust that you have it in writing, and I appreciate all of that. But I'm also spirit's a little bit buoyed on the sense that this is approval to go forth and apply for the loan. If we're accepted into the program, it has to come back to council to say, yes, we're taking it. So we get another chance to cross every T and dot every I and make sure that that everything you're saying matches up and we can move forward.
That is correct.
Okay.
This is part of the required paperwork for submission seeking these. And I can read you, this is verbatim from the DEC representative. I have confirmed with my supervisors that all the projects listed will receive principal forgiveness for the full amount of the loan in writing. Again, I was taken aback as well, because I haven't seen anything that good.
Okay. Councilmember Graver.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And just to clarify, so these amounts are just specifically for design and?
Yes.
Okay, so if we are able to acquire these loans, then when the designs are finished, that will come back to us and we'll proceed from there?
Yes.
I'm a little bit concerned that whatever design is brought forward will be out of our budget. I don't know if you had any thoughts on that.
I do, great question. So, this is to get the design rolling. And then, as part of that design, a construction cost estimate will be provided. We will not proceed or go forward with any construction type efforts until we have secured financing that is beneficial to the city. And financing could mean grants, loans, things like that. I will share on one of these, and I don't know if I get ahead, but the Headworks project. So the Headworks project down at the wastewater treatment plant, we already know we have funding for that. And that is the money that Senator Murkowski's office got to the city about a year and a half ago, and we just recently finalized the grant agreement. So that one we already know we have construction money for. This allows us to not have to utilize some of that money for the design process. So the other two, I do not, at this moment, have construction funding lined up. So it may take me a while to get that lined up, but we are aggressively pursuing numerous avenues for funding. And yes, council will have many opportunities to weigh in on this process as we go forward.
Okay. Mr. Manager.
I also want to point out that this particular one, 25007 we're talking about, is also listed in our legislative priorities as a well and well house for construction.
Good. Any other questions or comments from council? We ready to vote? Yeah, Madam Clerk, if you can call the roll, please.
Councilmember Hudson,
Yes.
Councilmember Alcantara,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Tudor,
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper,
Yes.
Councilmember Graver,
Yes.
Mayor Carrington.
Yes. Next is resolution number 25-008. A resolution of the Palmer City Council authorizing the city manager to apply to the State of Alaska Department of Environmental Conservation for a loan for the Alaska Drinking Water Fund in the amount not to exceed $1 million for the Reservoir 1 upgrade project. Well, I guess we'll have a little staff report first. We need to do a public hearing, right? So, all right, so we will open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak to this resolution number 25-008, please come forward. Seeing no one come forward, we will close the public hearing. What's the wishes of the council?
Move to approve?
Second?
Okay, moved and seconded. Do we want a little more staff report on this?
Sure.
Okay, Mr. Manager? To Mr. Billiford.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. And actually, since we had submitted this legislation, we refined and narrowed our scope a little bit. So it's actually not $1 million that we are going to be seeking. It's going to be about $750,000. So again, we had already submitted, but we constantly review what we really need. So, and Mr. Alcantara, that's where you get the deviation in the costs.
So, okay. Mr. Manager.
And if council wishes to amend this to be a 750,000, not to exceed 750,000, that would be acceptable by staff.
Okay. Councilmember Alcantra.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. I wasn't going to move to make that amendment because it says not to exceed $1 million, which means it could be anywhere from 750. If it ends up being 775 or, 782, I don't want to worry about that. But I think that's a good thing to bring up. And if other council members wanted to make that motion, I wouldn't object. But just somewhat tongue in cheek, I'd be more comfortable if that letter that you read to us was signed by a Michael Dunleavy instead of a Range 19 bean counter at DEC. But I think I'll have to keep it at its word and think that it's all great. And thank you for explaining why it was 8750 instead of an even 10,000. Thank you, Mr. Bill.
Council have any other questions or comments? All right. Madam Clerk, if you could call the roll, please.
Councilmember Cooper,
Yes.
Councilmember Graver,
Yes.
Mayor Carrington,
Yes.
Councilmember Hudson,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Tudor,
Yes.
Councilmember Alcantra.
Yes.
Unanimous.
Okay. Sorry to make you get up again there, Mr. Billifer. Resolution number 25-009, a resolution of the Palmer City Council authorizing the city manager to apply to the State of Alaska Department of Environmental Conservation for a loan for the Alaska Clean Water Fund in an amount not to exceed $500,000 for the Headworks Rehabilitation Project. We will open public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak to resolution 25-009 is welcome to come do so.
Hello again, I'm Jackie Goforth, and as I said before, I don't know much about running a city or all of these huge budgets, but we're putting a lot of money into water services, and lost my train of thought. And is this in the budget originally, or is this stuff we're adding in? Because we don't have that much if we're going to have the big library going. That's one thing. But the other thing is, we aren't planning on opening this up so we can hook on in a sister city to our water, are we? Is that what all this upgrade is for? I'm just kind of wondering if that might be an underlying reason for all of this water services, so we can take a dangling carrot from somebody who has a huge tax base and they want to tap into our water. I'm just bringing that up because I really don't know, but as I tell you, I hear a lot on the street. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else wishing to speak to resolution number 25-009? Okay, seeing no one else come forward, we'll close the public hearing. What's the wishes of the council?
Move to approve.
Second?
Okay. Moved and seconded. Do we want staff report? We have questions?
Please.
Okay, Councilman Cooper, Mr. Manager.
Mr. Belford, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, council members, the Headworks building is where every bit of sewage from the city and all customers is received at the treatment plant. That is the first place that sewage comes in. That facility is overwhelmed. I won't get into too much because I could bore you all night with technicalities of our screw pumps and our screening systems and the lack of gate systems and things. Look, I'll give you one example. When the power outage occurred over several days back in January of 2022, which I'm sure you all remember, the Headworks building flooded 3 times with the on and off power systems. What that meant was that building filled up, because it's a fairly deep building, with over 20 feet of sewage. At which time city employees had to get in there in contamination suits with Vactor trucks and suck that out because the screw pumps and the auger systems got overwhelmed. Fortunately, they worked nonstop. All my crew did, and did a great job, and there was no impact to the city, which is what we want. We want people to be able to flush their toilets and never worry about it. This Headworks building has not been upgraded in a very long time. The volume of sewage that comes in, as I said, right now, our system is barely capable of accepting that at that first stage, and then moving it downstream to the newly installed MBBR and the clarifiers, which were part of the consent decree. So this is a critical piece to ensure the longevity and the functionality of that wastewater treatment plant. As the manager mentioned earlier, I am available whenever you are. Would love to show what goes on down there and highlight what we are doing down there to make the system work. And this money here is for the design to upgrade that system. And then, as I mentioned also, the construction money we already have. That is a grant administered by the EPA through Senator Murkowski's office.
Okay, Councilmember Hudson.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Question then, because the legislative priority was brought up. One of our neighboring cities' top legislative priority was over $30 million for a water system expansion to connect to the city of Palmer's water. So can you address that? Because it just seems to the constituents to be unique timing that these have come up when their legislative priority is to expand to Palmer.
Mr. Biller, if I may.
Mr. Manager.
It was addressed in our legislative priorities in the past. And because of the large price tag, and I don't remember the price tag of it when it was brought forward in previous years, I removed it from our legislative priorities because I just didn't feel that we would be able to do that in the near term. I didn't see it, and wanted to keep our legislative priorities simple.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Councilmember Hudson.
Yes, thank you. On the legislative priorities that we took to Juneau, one of the top 5 was a water system expansion for $10.5 million. So I think that was still on there when we went to Juneau. So is that a different project?
Yes, ma'am. That was it. That was basically the first one that was the first resolution brought up tonight, 25007, with the well. It's a well and a well house, and I'll let Mr. Billefer expand on that.
Mr. Billefer.
I can assure you that these projects here have nothing to do with our sister cities' actions. The reservoir that we want to replace was built in the 50s. When I got here 3 years ago, I did an inventory of our systems. Had an analysis done of the inside of that tank, that reservoir. It's 250,000 gallons. The cracks and the loss of water in Reservoir 1 holds about half of its capacity. It was ignored. I can't say it any simpler than that. Well 1 is a very weak producing well. We have 2 wells that are servicing the city and all of the city's needs right now. Thankfully, they can do it, wells 4 and 5. They both produce well over 1,000 gallons per minute, and it's incredible. But we cannot sit here and just not do anything, because there will come a day when those wells do not produce enough. So this is us being proactive. So Reservoir 1 needs to be replaced. And well 1, a new well 1, if you will, needs to be determined, a location determined and created. This has nothing to do with anyone outside of a City of Palmer customer. This is internal, us only. Our users and our customers. So that is, we do have customers outside city limits, the hospital, the college, and some other folks. But that is for us. Hopefully that.
Okay. Councilmember Hudson.
Yes, thank you. It just seems that, Mr. Billefer, this is all extremely important to the city. I mean, what would a library be if you can't flush the toilet or wash your hands? So this definitely seems very concerning, which is why I think that it's important to approve these. But I just do think that it's interesting that it seems like the infrastructure in our city has a lot of work that it needs to focus on. So I'm happy that these things are finally being brought to our attention so that we can get a move on them. But I just think that it's important for the council and the constituents to really think about the priority of what's important right now. Thank you.
Councilmember Cooper.
Thank you, Mayor. Jude, so this is the Headworks is obviously before our treatment center. And do we still have is it still the ultraviolet?
That's at the end. That's the
Okay,
culmination
very
of the
end.
process. That is the last stage before discharge in accordance with our permit.
Right. And is that, how's that doing? I mean, it's been 21 years or so when that was built.
It was.
Right.
You are absolutely correct. Since I have been here, we have added a second channel and a second bank of UV lights, and it is performing very well right now.
Perfect. Thank you.
Because it was running single channel
Right.
for the last 20 years, as you mentioned.
Thank you.
Any other questions on this resolution? Okay, Madam Clerk, if you could call the roll, please.
Councilmember Graver,
Yes.
Mayor Carrington,
Yes.
Councilmember Hudson,
Yes.
Councilmember Alcantara,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Tudor,
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper.
Yes.
Okay, unanimous?
Okay. Next, resolution number 25-011, authorize the city manager to appropriate $231,728.80 for the water and sewer unrestricted net position for payment to the Alaska Department of Transportation and Public Facilities in accordance with the signed utility reimbursable services agreement that the Palmer City Council approved on April 25th, 2023, and signed by the city manager on April 27th, 2023. The payment is part of the City of Palmer's cost share for the relocation of City of Palmer sewer and water lines which were moved as part of the Glen Highway Phase 2 project. So we will open this for public hearing for resolution number 25-011. Anyone wishing to speak to this resolution can please come forward. Seeing no one come forward, we'll close the public hearing. What's the wishes of the council?
Move to approve?
Second?
Okay, it's moved and seconded. Is there any questions of staff? Councilmember Alcantara?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the question of staff is, this $231,000 that we owe to the state of Alaska. When you look at the invoice, it says that $135,000 was a past due balance. I don't know if that's their own nomenclature or if we actually were supposed to pay $135,000 of this back in 2024 and we just didn't do it, or if this is they finally came up with the costs and now we're addressing the entire cost of the $231,728. So, yes,
Mr.
I'd
Manager?
take that answer.
Yeah, Mr. Billafer.
Mr. Mayor, council members, we did not receive the original difference, that bill. So we received this on I believe it was late December of 2024, this total bill here. And that's one of the reasons why you may ask, well, why wasn't this budgeted? Well, we never received the bill until the end of December. We knew that there would be a cost, but as the council approved back in the legislation in 2023, we had just a rough idea. And since it is ongoing and they are piecemealing the billing, there may be some more, there may not be. Our water lines are in, they're across, functioning, the road's been paved over. Again, I'm anticipating more, but after our inspection with our lines and everything else, everything looks up to date, so there may not be. But again, this is in accordance with the AM that council passed back in 2023.
Okay. Councilmember Alcantara?
Yeah, Jude or city manager might be able to answer this question. Just so I'm clear, to wrap my own brain around it. The Matsu College, the Matsu Regional Medical Center, every one of our people that are on our water system, that big map behind me, they get the same 6% increase that we're touting on our website right now that Joe and Jill Citizen get, correct? So everybody's rates are going up 6%.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Cooper.
Thank you, Mayor. It's probably just a concern, it's kind of more of a rhetorical kind of comment question. Back in 2003 is when, or around that time frame is when we put the water line in, and the city paid a pretty hefty sum to put that water line in and did a lot of the work. What kind of irks me is 2 years ago, we went and signed an agreement that we would pay to have our water line moved when in fact the state is doing all the work. The state is out there removing, putting in a new road and forcing us to pay to have our water line that we paid for originally to be moved. That torques me off. Sorry, but.
No, that's a great question, Mr. Cooper. And the reason is a city official back in 2007 signed a utility agreement with the state of Alaska. And that utility agreement bound the city of Palmer that in the event of future construction or upgrades, the city of Palmer would be responsible for a portion of those upgrades. And you are absolutely correct. My reaction was a little bit more visceral than yours, to say the least.
Mine would be, but it's been recorded.
And in this forum, yes, I will not use that. But when I found out that, to say the least, it was very frustrating. So that's why we are paying. It was due to that utility agreement that was signed by a city official.
All right. Any other questions from the council? Comments? Okay, Madam Clerk, if you could call the roll, please.
Mayor Carrington,
Yes.
Councilmember Hudson,
Yes.
Councilmember Alcantra,
Yes.
Councilmember Graver,
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Tudor.
Yes.
Unanimous?
All right. Next, we have a public hearing for resolution number 25-012. Authorize the city manager to appropriate $470,918 from the solid waste unrestricted net position and to negotiate and execute a purchase agreement with Western Peterbilt, Inc. for a solid waste collection vehicle in the amount not to exceed $470,918 using the government and property procurement process. We will open resolution 25-012. Does anyone wish to speak to this resolution for our public hearing? Seeing no one come forward, we will close this public hearing. What's the wishes of the council?
Move to approve.
Second.
All right. Is there any questions or comments from council? Councilmember Alcantra.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, it's a bigger dollar figure, so I can't just let it go without at least some comment. So, the unrestricted net position of solid waste is 600,000. This is 470. Did we just use 231 from that same 600,000? Okay, it's not from that unrestricted.
Mr. Manager.
Mr. Belford?
That 231 is from sewer water. This is from solid waste. Two different enterprise funds.
Thank you.
All right. Deputy Mayor Tudor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And it does say this a little bit in the packet. I just want to make sure I got this right. So this was originally added to the budget. It was taken out, and it looks like it was kind of lost in the shuffle a little bit during the transition, and then.
Well,
Go ahead.
yes,
Yeah,
to clarify.
Mr. Manager? Well, he turned his light on, so I
It
wasn't sure.
was in the budget.
Okay.
It was taken out of the budget back in October. And without a hired city manager, the cuts that were made to that budget, that was the budget that you saw, and rightly so. The money is there in that solid waste account to pay for this truck. As I said, we added it to the budget and it was removed.
Okay. Thank you. I just want to follow up, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. And just to kind of clarify, and we're adding it back, even though it wasn't budget, we're just adding it back in there just because there's significant cost savings related to if we reserve this now. I just want, was there like a certain dollar amount just so people can know, or?
No, it is imperative, as I'm sure most folks know, the vehicles that are on the street the most in the city of Palmer are the garbage trucks. And they need to be replaced. They hit their usable life cycle where we start having significant maintenance problems at about the 5-year mark. So we are replacing the truck that we currently use. And our goal is to do that proactively every 5 years. So the last one that we purchased was in 2020. And now, there is a significant lead time on these trucks. So us doing this now, I would anticipate seeing the vehicle maybe Christmas time. I can't wait till then. It would just take too much cost, and you'll see that later on. We'll talk about costs on a different item.
And as was mentioned, this is an enterprise fund, so this money is coming out of
Yes,
essentially the solid waste garbage fund.
correct.
So, okay. Any other questions from council? No? Okay. Madam Clerk, if you could call the roll, please.
Councilmember Cooper,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Tudor,
Yes.
Councilmember Graver,
Yes.
Councilmember Hudson,
Yes.
Mayor Carrington,
Yes.
Councilmember Alcantara,
Yes.
unanimous.
Okay. Next is action memoranda, but I think we'll take a break for 10 minutes or so.
retired Army Colonel. And I was retired. There was issues with this plan. One of the previous city managers who I had known, and he coaxed me out of retirement to fix the plan. Once I get that plan done, then I'll go back to my to-do list.
The city says, everybody wants a library, but you gotta have that toilet flush and you need clean water.
You do.
It's the secret of life.
I have six DEC loan/grant applications in the works right now. I've had them in the works for 2.5 years. That's a lot of work. I don't want to bother. Oh, it's huge. But this is just another one of the steps. All right.
Appreciate it.
Hey, thank you. Yeah. Again, don't hesitate to call.
Top, I didn't open it for you.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Okay, we have, we lost 2, 3, 4, 5, Mr. Cooper.
Oh, Cooper, he's right there.
Oh, he's right here. Okay. All right, we can call our meeting back to order. And we are at action memorandum number 25-022, authorizing the city manager to purchase 3 new light-duty trucks, 2 for public works in the amount not to exceed $109,720, 1 for the fire department in the amount not to exceed $56,485. All 3 trucks will be purchased utilizing the state of Alaska's negotiated contract pricing. What's the wishes of the council?
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay. Is there any comments or questions from council? Councilmember Alcantara.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Absolutely. Yeah, you might as well, the city manager wants you to move up, you might as well move up. So, I'm not a construction guy, obviously, except for the project manager side of it, but I didn't know light duty trucks were, Ford F-350s with, 6.8 liter V8s, but I just want to make sure that these trucks that we're purchasing are separate than what we talked about back in November when we did capital budget requests. Because I remember specifically, I think it was at the depot, making some comments on like, whoa, they're gonna get these trucks for $31,000 a piece. And I would think I was told by Mr. Belfer that, yeah, they're roll-up windows, they don't have a CD player, etc. So I'm just wanna make sure, like I was confusing water, wastewater with sewer, that I'm not confusing these trucks at $54,000 plus a piece with the $31,000 trucks back in November.
Mr. Manager.
Mr. Belfer?
Mr. Alcantara, can I blame you? So these are the exact trucks, and why you see I'm only ordering 2 instead of 3, because we gave you, as part of the budgetary process, the $31,000 and some change is what we paid before for the F-350, the standard order truck on the state of Alaska purchasing plan. That went up. We received their new invoices went up $20,000 a truck this year. And that's why I am only ordering 2 and not 3. But they are the trucks, and again, yes, you authorized us to buy 3, but I didn't budget for 3. I budgeted for a value of which now we're slightly over, but I do have the funds to cover that difference, but that's why Public Works is getting 2, when originally we budgeted for 3, and the fire is getting 1. But theirs is coming out of a different budget line than that. So yes, these are the exact same trucks. They are considered light duty, the 350s and below, but it is a standard build sheet that the state of Alaska does, and they have 6 variants of that, and we pick 1, and the ones that we picked in Public Works are their lowest cost ones.
Councilmember Alcantara.
Thank you for the follow-up, Mr. Mayor. I guess I say, wow, what changes happened from November to February? Probably our new president or something. I don't know what caused these. I don't know what caused these kind of escalations, but it is what it is. And like you said, I think we budgeted $93,000, and this is coming in for your department at about $109,000. And I see where the fire department is not here. gets a little more expensive truck, and I assume that's the race red painting that drives their price up a little above yours, so.
And they
thank you for
ordered
that.
we put their order in for them. Theirs is an 8-foot bed, 4 doors. Ours are not. Ours are 6.5. Crew cab, extended cabs, forgive me.
Deputy Mayor Tudor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is not really a very productive comment, but I had to laugh when I read this. As someone without an auto start in his car, I love that he wrote yes next to the auto start specification. It just kind of just made me crack up.
I didn't bring the build sheets with me, and I regretted it as soon as I walked into council chambers earlier. Having the factory installed auto start in that, I could be wrong, but it's somewhere in the neighborhood of like $212 factory installed. And yes, all of our vehicles are stored outside, and it is a benefit. I think we have one right now with an auto start. And so, yes, I made the decision to spend the extra $212 to get a dealer installed auto start.
All right, Councilmember Cooper.
Thank you, Mayor. Jude, on the front page, it says 56,000. Maybe the difference is that this is the fire truck is 56,485.
Yes.
And yours are 54,985. And I don't remember the answer. I think I asked this last time. Are these replacement vehicles, or are they just new in addition to whatever we've got?
These replace old vehicles. As I mentioned when we were talking budget, I am still using 3 vehicles that are 2001 vintage. One of them turned into a Fred Flintstone mobile last year when one of our operators put their foot through the rusted floorboard. So what we do, we buy these trucks, we cascade them down. So one of our other ones on hand will go replace the 2001 variant, and then we'll do what we can. We'll put that up for auction. We've been very proactive with that. We might get $5, but it's okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Manager.
And if I may answer for Chief Prevost was unable to join us tonight. Again, it's gonna replace a truck. The truck it's replacing is a 2002 with engine problems and a front end that needs to be replaced.
No.
So it's going to be that truck will be turned over to Public Works for whatever they choose to do with it.
Councilmember Graver.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is just kind of a random comment, but they all have shipping to Fairbanks on there, and I'm just curious if that's because it's further than Juneau, that they just have to charge the full price or something, or...
No, it should be FOB Anchorage.
Oh.
Did I?
Well,
mean, there are
it's
options
underneath-
where you could check to either have
Oh,
the
I
vehicles
see.
shipped
Okay.
to Fairbanks, to
I got it.
Juneau, or Anchorage, and we
I
pick-
see. Okay, I misunderstood that. Thank
Okay,
you.
yeah.
Councilmember Hudson.
Yes, thank you. So then, are you asking then to purchase? Well, you're obviously asking to purchase these, but then the leftover amount from what was approved in our budget, then that's going to be coming from Public Works directly back into the fund, or you're going to be paying that separately with the payment from the city, from your fund?
If I may, I can answer that question. That budget's coming out of, in your budget's coming out of line item 90901106054. That line item, at the beginning of, or at the end of 2024 that line item before the 2025 budget was made, had $106,000 in it for Public Works equipment. Council added another $93,000 to that when we ordered, when council approved 3 trucks. So the balance in that fund is in the neighborhood of $199,069. And the purchase of these trucks will come out of that, will come out of that line item.
Councilmember Hudson. Okay. All right, any other questions from council? All right, Madam Clerk, if you could call the roll, please.
Mayor Carrington,
Yes.
Councilmember Hudson,
Yes.
Councilmember Graver,
Yes.
Councilmember Alcantara,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Tudor,
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Next is action memorandum number 25-023, authorizing the city manager to purchase a portable screener for the Water and Sewer Department in an amount not to exceed $92,125.58. What's the wishes of the council?
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, is there any Councilmember Graver?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm really pleased to hear how you guys are saving the city money by what interim manager Dementi mentioned earlier, and also this screener. I'm just curious if at the price of $92,000, a little over that, it's worth the gravel you're saving. And I'm just curious. I don't know what your if you use it more consistently than that, or what the thought is there.
Mr. Billiford, through the manager.
Great question. So we did a test run last year. At $7,000 a month, for 2 months, we rented a smaller portable screener. And we were able to reclaim and make enough material to fix 3 of the roads inside the wastewater treatment plant, to include the main access road. We brought it up approximately 9 inches total of material. We put proper fabric down. We built it to road standards. We also used that material for some playground repair work in support of community development and elsewhere around the city. There is a significant volume of material on the wastewater treatment plant site that this will be beneficial. I do not have a cost estimate of what we saved last year by utilizing that material, but there's no doubt the city will benefit. And why we went for a little bit bigger, when the one we rented, the hopper, where the material is dumped in prior to screening, was not wide enough to accept a load from our loaders. So what we had to do is the loader had to scoop the material out of the ground, dump it, the operator would get out, get into a backhoe, which had a much smaller bucket, scoop a little bit of the material, put it in the screener. The screener would make its different piles, and then the loader would come in and separate the piles. Not very efficient. This screener is configured the proper width, so now we have one transfer of material. The loader will scoop the material, go directly into the screener, and then proceed to take the different screened materials and put it in its various piles. We have these piles already started from last year, the leftovers that we have. Again, that's something I'd love to showcase and show the volume of material that is at that treatment plant that can be utilized. My only comment would be it's a shame that the city didn't do it 20 years ago. But yes, I absolutely think the city will benefit significantly. It can be material used to patch roads. I said we've already used it at the playground. We've used it at some fields. We used it to do almost all the main roads at the treatment plant, which were in horrible condition. And that's our intent, is to continue that and use it for the city.
Okay. Is there any other questions from the council? Comments? Mr. Manager?
I'd just like to highlight real quick that this dollar amount will come out of the water sewer fund, not out of the general fund. I'm not sure if that's clear in the legislation or not.
Okay. Councilmember Graver?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And just to be clear, so this was a budgeted item.
Yes.
So this is something you've been
Yes, it
working
is.
on for
And
a while.
it's a 50-50 share between the water and sewer elements.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, are we ready to vote then? Madam Clerk, if you could call the roll, please.
Deputy Mayor Tudor,
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper,
Yes.
Councilmember Graver,
Yes.
Councilmember Hudson,
Yes.
Mayor Carrington,
Yes.
Councilmember Alcantara.
Yes.
Unanimous?
All right, next is action memorandum number 25-024, authorizing the city manager to execute amendment number 5, additional construction administration with HDL Engineering Consultants in the amount not to exceed $58,382 for the Bogard Booster Station project. What's the wishes of the council?
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay. Are there any questions or comments from council?
Could we just get the staff?
Councilmember Cooper.
Thank you, Mayor. Could we just get the staff report and exactly what does this mean?
What are we doing? Mr. Manager, Mr. Thur? to Mr. Billiford.
Mr. Mayor, council members, as you're probably aware, this project was started in 2015. That's when the water lines were put in the hopes of connecting to the Colony schools. A booster station was originally part of that project back in 2015. Unfortunately, the construction costs overran and the booster station was removed. What did that mean? That means that there are water lines in the ground that have sat without water since 2015. This project is to put that booster station in to finally bring water to the Colony schools and that area along Bogard Road. However, anytime you have things sit in the ground that long, there was some deterioration and there was some old componentry. When we got into the ground and dug things up, the city made the decision to fix some outdated pipes and connections and valves and things like that. This was city directed. What that incurred was the additional oversight as part of the construction administration to ensure that the new parts that we directed were taken care of. And that's what this cost is. The original estimate for their construction administration did not have the additional items that we added in, we the city, once the ground was broken and we actually could see what was in there. Again, they originally put in 2015.
Okay. Councilmember Alcantara.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Billiford. Who provides Colony High School and Colony Middle School water currently?
They're on wells. And their fire suppression, they have, I'm not 100% sure, but I believe it's a 50,000 gallon tank below ground that is for fire suppression at Colony. And it's they've had some challenges with their systems as well. Just like anybody, you have power outages and things like that. You run into some challenges. So this was all part of it that was originally started again back in 2015.
Councilmember Cooper.
Thank you, Mayor. Kind of a follow-up on that. So we already have piping to Colony High School. I'm hoping that's as far as we're going at this point. That's what the booster station is to allow, obviously, push it uphill and push it that far to get there. I guess what I'm getting at is I think that's as far as I want to see the water go at this point. I mean, probably forever, but anyway, I was just wondering if we already have the water lines there. Do we have water lines coming down from the college down to the main road yet, Palma Wasilla, or no? No, the lines stop approximately, where Reservoir 4 is, the big tank up on the hill? Yeah.
Right there.
And how about going out that direction?
No.
All right, thank you.
Okay. You ready to vote then? Madam Clerk, if you could call the roll, please.
Councilmember Alcantara,
Yes.
Mayor Carrington,
Yes.
Councilmember Hudson,
Yes.
Councilmember Graver,
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Tudor.
Yes.
Unanimous?
All right. Action memorandum number 25-025, authorizing the city manager to purchase a trailer-mounted trash pump for the public works in the amount not to exceed $72,455. What's the wishes of the council?
Move to approve.
Second.
All right. Moved and seconded. Is there any questions or comments from council? Councilmember Cooper.
Thank you, Mayor. So we drain our ponds, and we obviously have to scoop them out, if you will, to get more volume. And so
We do, the dredging.
right. So back in 20 years ago, or however it was, we worked with Air Liquide to use their byproducts to mix with our sludge and made fertilizer that obviously cannot be used on gardens, but could be used along the roadways. What are we doing with our sludge? Are we working with, are they still in existence? Do we do anything with that, or do we just?
Our sludge goes to a drying bed, and that's where it stays.
So we no longer, I obviously work with Air Liquide to do that. All right. I just wonder if anybody's looked at something that we could do, because we actually were selling that stuff and it was working pretty well. All right, thank you.
Councilmember Alcantra.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Billiford. I always say, don't ask the question if you don't already know the answer, but in this case, well, I'm gonna take the risk here, because back in my FEMA days, we always just used to say, whenever they put in acronyms, you could like hiss and boo and shout them down. I'll admit, I understand what a clarifier is, I understand what a lagoon is. What is the MBBR? Hopefully it's nothing that I'm gonna lose my dinner over.
No, sir. It stands for Moving Bed Bioreactor, and that is the second stage of the treatment for sewage at the treatment plant. Comes in through the Headworks building, then into the MBBR, where we actually have bugs, we like to call them, but where the bacterial reaction to break down waste starts, and then from there it goes to the clarifiers. And so all of these processes, though, for cleaning purposes, we have to shut down processing for a day, drain the systems, and we do that through this one pump, which last year gave us fits and we had to rent a pump, which is why I put it into the budget to get us a new one, especially when I found out how old ours was.
Councilmember Alcantra.
If I ever get moving bed bioreactor on Jeopardy, I'm gonna give you 1% of my winnings.
So any other questions or comments from council? Okay, Madam Clerk, if you could call the roll, please.
Councilmember Hudson,
Yes.
Councilmember Graver,
Yes.
Mayor Carrington,
Yes.
Councilmember Alcantra,
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Tudor.
Yes.
Unanimous.
All right. There's no unfinished business, no new business. Record of items placed on the table. Madam Clerk?
Document from Public Works Director Jude Billiford and scholarship information from Matsu Health Foundation.
All right. Okay, next we have our second audience participation. We'll open audience participation. Anyone wishing to speak to us can come forward. Please start with your name and you have 3 minutes.
Greetings again. I'm Jackie Goforth. Trust is a very difficult thing to get back once it's lost. And in case you're wondering why people are so suspicious, it's because we are. Trust has been lost. And as the survivor and winner of 139 EEO complaints over a decade, I want you to know when you don't win an EEO, you just are found not guilty, because there's no validation. And that's what happens when you discipline someone as a leader and they have friends and they're allowed their First Amendment rights to speak out against you and do whatever they want to against you. That's what happens, and you have to just deal with it, because you cannot stifle someone's ability to speak out to you. You know, there was a Postmaster General in the 90s, his name was Marvin Runyon, and he looked like Papa Smurf, in case you're wondering. And they sent out a huge poster of him, and unions started drawing him in blue. So they sent out another order saying no one is allowed to touch the poster. You can't do that either. People have their First Amendment rights to communicate. So what I did, I put a plastic sheeting over him, put a picture of me up too, and gave him all markers. And we had mustaches and everything, and then maintenance would clear it off and we'd do it again, okay? You just water off a duck's back, okay? So if you're gonna be a leader, it's very strange because people don't speak out anymore, and there was a gag order. There was a gag order in this city, and it was from the last manager we had. And I don't really want to FOIA the manager now to find out if there's something else like that going on, because it's very strange that there's no rumblings of anything. Nobody's speaking out about anything. Everything is peachy. Everything's wonderful. And it just makes me wonder, because we're suspicious now. We have lost trust, okay? Are all the department heads allowing people to speak? I always let the people speak because that's what they do. How do you know if you're doing something wrong? And it's not comfortable. It's not comfortable to have 139 EEOs against you. I don't know if I'm a legend in Denver, Colorado. I don't know if you know what that's like. But when you're found innocent of all of them, because if there's nothing happening and there's nothing you're not doing anything wrong, compromisable, then why on earth do you worry? See, when you put people on any kind of restrictions and tell them they can't speak, that makes people wonder why. What on earth would they speak about? Now, I don't know if there is one. I just noticed that there's a lot of people who don't show up here anymore. And they were very vocal before. So it makes me very interested in finding out why. So expect a FOIA, I guess, for some more emails so I can sort of start fishing and try and find out why. Because I'm suspicious now. The trust is gone. Okay? I'm really sorry. The only way to earn it back is to be open and transparent. It really is. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else for audience participation? Okay, we'll close audience participation. Next is council member comments. And the views and opinions expressed during council member comments are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the view or opinion of the city or its officials. And as a reminder to respect the process, council members shall perform their duties in accordance with council processes and rules of order. Members should conduct deliberations with civility and refrain from abusive conduct, personal charges, or verbal attacks upon the character or motives of other members of the council, boards, committees, commissions, the staff, or public. So, council member comments. Council member Cooper.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to thank Mr. Wilson for coming up and talking about the hospital foundation. Palmer Community Foundation also has a grant cycle. I believe it's from 1st to the end of March. And as you know, they give out, and they're fairly small grants, but to nonprofit organizations around the city that benefit, in and around, they've given money to the food bank and to the wild bird sanctuary and the library, just a whole number of Little League, a whole number of things. So anybody who's a nonprofit who wants to consider maybe getting a grant from the Palmer Community Foundation, their pcf.org, I believe, is their website. And this Friday, they're also doing at the college, are doing a grant writing symposium to let those people who are nonprofits learn how to properly write grants and stuff. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Hudson.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to thank our constituents for concerns that they brought tonight, and I also just wanted to address the statement that was brought forward earlier by Mr. Billiford. Just to clear the air, we were asked by the mayor to join him in a meeting with one of our representatives. And in there were questions asked that the mayor did not have answers to. So we were asked because he couldn't answer for the city of Palmer. And when we answered the question, it was that what were the concerns and why was the EPA involved? Then in the answer to that question, in giving the answer, was why the EPA had gotten involved back when it had. So I can understand that there's a concern with that, because there's a concern with everybody when the EPA gets involved. And all we did was answer the question that the mayor was not able to answer for the city as a representative. And so reaching out to one of our department directors, and I'm sure that our interim city manager was involved with that, and asking you to come speak and get in the middle of that, I just feel like was very inappropriate and uncalled for. And I'm really sorry to our constituents that they had to observe that situation. And I'm sorry, Mr. Billiford, that you got involved in that way. I just wanted to clear the air on the situation that had happened. So, and I am looking forward to getting to the council having a new city manager that will work with the entire council and work on moving the city in a new direction. Thank you.
Councilmember Alcantara.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank to everybody that came out and spoke tonight. I do think there's a lot to be said about building trust, and you know, we need to get the trust back from our constituents, and there's probably work that needs to be done in making sure there's trust with department heads, city managers, and others. I think we're a step closer to having a permanent city manager. I think our interim city manager has done the best job he possibly could have in the situation that he's been dealt. And everything is not wonderful, but I think kind of back the old adage has been down so long it looks like up to me. And I think after our previous city manager, I think there was just so much angst that hey, we're moving forward. And today we powered through 9 things in a couple of hours, and it certainly is a refreshing way to do business compared to some of the things. I want to thank Mr. Billefer for what he had to present tonight for all these resolutions. I do think it's unfortunate that it started off a little bit rocky, and I won't say who had to call you or what had to happen, but I think the reality is our department heads should be able to speak to council members and should be able to speak to lawmakers, and if everything has to go through one person, then you lose a lot of emphasis along the way. You're an expert in public works. I'm not an expert in public works. You're an expert in water, wastewater. I'm not. So I think it's a good thing when you get an opportunity to speak on behalf of the city of Palmer to other elected officials in state or federal offices. So I'm fine with that. Speaking to state lawmakers, I want to say it again because there were so few people here in our Friday night meeting that I think it was a very good trip to Juneau last week. I think the mayor and council members Hudson and Graver specifically, I spent a lot of years in Juneau. Juneau is my thing. I thought, hey, I know where all the bathrooms are. I'm going to show these young council members a thing or two about Juneau, and I learned way more from them. And they taught me definitely new tricks and new things, and so being in their presence was a learning experience for me. And so I appreciated that for sure. And I think it's worthwhile for us to go to Juneau, and I look forward, either potentially even late this session with a new permanent city manager can make a trip to Juneau and both advocate on our behalf and have those relationships built with lawmakers, because I do think that's important. But I do think the most important thing is building the trust back with the community, and I do think that I'm going to take it at face value and say maybe things are a little more comfortable than they were back in September, October of '24, and hope that that's the case. But I look forward to seeing where we go next. I think we did some good work tonight, and I look forward to more council meetings in the future where we can get the kind of work done in a timely manner. So thank you, and I hope everybody has a good couple of weeks.
Councilmember Graver.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, AML was a valuable experience, and I enjoyed the first trip to the Capitol building, and and I was thankful for Councilman Alcantara to show us all the secret passageways to stay out of the rain to get around Juneau. So that was really fun and a great learning experience, and some great memories, and so I appreciate being able to go to that. I also wanted to ask for council support to direct the city attorney to look at our code of ethics and bring something forward, a version of that forward to put into legislation so that we can have a proper manner and process if we need to sanction a fellow council member when that code is broken. And I don't know if I need to reword that, but if the attorney has any thoughts on that, I would like to hear them.
I
She
second
was,
that.
she asked for support, okay, so that's support from Councilmember Cantor. Madam Attorney, are you there, Sarah?
Yes, I am. So if I understand, I'm being tasked to draft some potential legislation related to ethics and included in it sanctions and a hearing process and some disciplinary samples, not samples, but some disciplinary solutions. Yeah, that's certainly something I could put together, probably in a report form, and give you both some legislation samples as well as what is done in other jurisdictions.
Yes, thank you. That would be great.
Okay.
And that's all I have.
All right. Deputy Mayor Tudor.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, kind of had a busy week this last week. I just wanted to kind of highlight how impressed I am over Public Works with the money saving they're doing for the city. I feel like we kind of take it for granted at this point. But, you know, instead of going, hey, let's just hire this out, you know, chopping down trees and making planks and putting it together for a trail, that's a lot. That's going the extra mile to save money for the taxpayers. So I can't say enough I appreciate that. And, you know, like things with the city, you know, we've had like the Matsu Miners had their annual fundraiser dinner, which was a lot of fun. Always a great event and raised a lot of money for that amazing team. I didn't realize how well ranked that team was, and it's just amazing. And I got to go to Palmer High School to give a quick kind of lesson there for entrepreneurship at a class, and I'm just really impressed with the staff there and the students. We're doing really, really good job to make sure the students get the best education they can. So just really impressed by that. And lastly, you know, we'll be having the booth at the Alaska Small Business Development Conference, trying to get some more businesses here in Palmer. You know, one thing is that I was talking to somebody one time, and they're like, well, what makes, you know, why Palmer and not somewhere else? And I'm always really impressed with the small businesses around town that just go the extra mile. It's never, you know, they're just here just to, you know, sell their wares or their services and they're done. But they always volunteer their time and put a lot of energy into really making Palmer great. So I'm just always really impressed by the small businesses here in town. So I just want to say how impressed I am. Thank you.
Okay. And I don't have any comments, so we'll adjourn at 7:46. Bye, Sarah.
Goodbye. Have a great evening.